for those of you watching on YouTube, which I will try to get the YouTube clips out earlier this week, I didn't get anything out until Thursday. And it wasn't that I was just so busy. I just kind of like forgot, to be honest with you. I just got caught up doing other stuff, and it didn't take me that long to make the clips, but I just forgot to get them out. So I'll try to get the clips out earlier. But yeah, let's get into this Impact report. We were live from Full Sail University on February 20th, and from Orlando, Orlando, Florida. And you know what? I didn't, for like a live show that was being propped up as a significant show. I didn't think it delivered. I really didn't. It had a couple of surprises, but the surprises weren't that good. It's like, Elijah was okay surprise, but he's not a huge star. And Primo and Epico are job guys. They ain't never gonna win no matches. So to have them as a surprise, and then of course Elijah coming out, and Elijah was over. I'll give them credit for that. Elijah really was over, all right, and he did get people talking. His YouTube numbers are doing pretty good. But it's like, what's it leading to? Like the guy, unless he's significantly improved in the last 2 years, the guy can't go. So we had that, and then of course when he comes out, he's like, and I'll get to the play by play, but and the tag match wasn't that bad, but it actually was pretty fun to watch, all things considered. But I just felt like this wasn't the show that you're going to shop around to television networks to get people on your side. This wasn't the show that you're going to say, look, TNA Impact is back, and here's why we're going live. We're going for it. That wasn't this, right? They have lost some great workers, and they're replacing them with mediocre workers. And that's not good. And that could lead to like a weird period coming up where you have all these big shows selling out big crowds, and they get there and the matches just aren't good. Right. Outside of a few, like, the Rascals and Ace Austin can go, and guys like Leon Slater are still really good. I mean, obviously I like him. I think Moose can go, and Eddie Edwards can go. And Nick Nemeth, never going to give you a 5, but he can get you like a 4 banger, right? Outside of those guys, that's it. Masha has no opponents. Like, that's why they bring in Cora Jade, sorry ass. So they need to significantly upgrade the in-ring work on this for this company if they're going to continue on with their success that they're having right now. So I just worry about that. But we start off with a Joe Hendry encore concert. Hendry says it's been a busy couple of months for him, and he knows that everyone wants to know what is next for him in the TNA World Championship. He reiterates his willingness to defend the title against anyone from any company, and he wrote a song about it. So in that, he mentions Sheamus not believing his eyes, and his favorite moment being beating up The Miz. And then he had lines about it being hard to be humble when he was in the Royal Rumble. He mentions Reigns throwing him out and makes a reference about John Cena. And while he's wrapping up his first song, he's cut off by the Colognes. Nobody cared about the Colognes. I legit had secondhand embarrassment for them as they came out, and I think that TNA thought like, oh wow, like they're returning to Full Sail. This is gonna get a big pop, and it was more of a groan. Like nobody cared. It's like, oh, these guys. And I'll be honest, I don't mind the Colognes being in TNA. Like they need more tag teams, but they're a jobber tag team. And you need teams that lose. That's fine. But they kind of brought them out with the World Heavyweight Champion. Could you imagine like a jobber tag team being introduced to AEW and their first opponent was Jon Moxley and Claudio? Like that's like a big surprise. So I couldn't imagine. That just like they just wouldn't do it, right? And I get TNA is a smaller company and the talent depth isn't there, right? So they're here. Okay. But again, I don't mind them being in the company. Like, you need teams that lose, but come on. There's so many good tag teams on the indies right now that you could just bring in, right? For this same position that are younger, probably less expensive and better. Cut off by the Cologne. The duo make their way to the ring, introducing themselves to the TNA audience. They say this isn't a popularity contest for them. Well, of course, you're not very popular. They're serious wrestlers and violent people. And fans chant, "Where's Carlito?" That killed them dead immediately. They were done at that point, and I don't think they're ever getting it back. So, as they go to rush the ring for an attack, the lights go out, and we hear the familiar guitar strum. A spotlight shines on the entrance, and out comes Elijah, and formerly known as Elias, with a guitar over his shoulder, and the fans chant, "Holy shit." They sure did. They love this guy. I rolled my eyes, but I gotta admit, the guy was over. The guy is super over to this crowd in Orlando. We'll see if it translates to El Paso at Sacrifice. It says, if you want to walk with me or you believe in Joe Hendry, you're in luck. Fans chant, "Oh, walk with Elijah," to the White Stripes melody. And then he starts playing that riff impromptu. I actually learned how to play that riff a while back, but I don't think I can do it anymore. And then the fans chant the fans reacted loud, "This is awesome," chant. And he mentions having colon clogging going on. Ugh. And it says it could use a colon cleanse. Well, there you go. Thank you for being here, Elijah. He asked Joe if he's got his guitar ready. He enters the ring. He's cut off by the theme for the TNA Director of Authority, Santana Morella. He mentions not one, but two big surprises to start off the night. Big. Colognes. Elijah was a good surprise with Colognes. Meh. Santino says allow him to make the surprise number 3 tonight in the main event will be Joe Hendry and Elijah versus the Colognes. And it's going to smell fantastic. Elijah says there's no reason they can't have a little concert right now, and they sing one chorus, and the opener wraps up there. And then we go to Zachary Wentz. So we have the Rascals defeating Tyreek Igwe and Tyson DuPont with Wesley. Ace Austin's out there as well. Before that, Leon Slater had a backstage promo, his no DQ showdown against JDC. That was a good promo. And then goes to commercial, comes back, and Miller talks with the Colognes, who reiterate their arrival to the scene in TNA wrestling. So there you go. And then we get to the match. This match wasn't a bad match. It was a good match, but it was just short and never really got going. Wentz follows up with a swanton off the top rope. Miguel makes a cover and picks up the win for the Rascals. So yeah, I just went straight to the end. Not much happened in the match. It wasn't a bad match. The NXT guys are super green, and so I thought in spots they look pretty good, but you can tell that they need some more ring time, which is why they're here. So, and then Wesley gets on the microphone and issues the challenge for a 6-man tag team showdown with Ace Austin and the Rascals against Tyson, and Tyreek at Sacrifice. And then we go to another commercial break. And then the show just fucking falls off a cliff here. This was so bad. We get AJ Francis with his new show, The First Class Penthouse, and he reintroduces himself as the host of the show. And then he introduces Casey Navarro, and behind them a bunch of idiots, Gabby Laspiza, some couple other ladies, and then he also has some rapper guys, and I guess they're popular on TikTok. I don't know. And Frank the Clown and Noel Foley. And Frank the Clown posted a picture of him backstage at TNA and said he crossed the line. And BQ put it in my chat. And Lucha Doncic goes, "Is he any good?" He had never heard of Frank the Clown. And BQ responded with, "His name is Frank the Clown. Do you fucking think he's any good?" It's like, how could it possibly be that anybody named Frank the Clown is any good? Fuck no, he's not good. Of course not. What a joke. Frank the Clown. Oh, man, I don't think that he's signed, by the way. I think that AJ Francis likes to surround himself with people that are popular on social media. But Frank the Clown does a lot of indie stuff in Chicago, and he's an idiot. Francis asks everyone to pull their phones out and go live in case TNA cuts the feed because what he's about to say next. And then he doesn't really say anything important. Just a random series of words and sentences that lead to absolutely nothing. He teased that his first guest was going to be AJ Styles, but no, in fact, it's him. And he says he fumbles his line while trying to make a comparison to AJ leaving TNA to make money in WWE. So he said AJ Styles left TNA to make money in WWE while he left WWE to save TNA. So yeah, he fumbled his line, and then the First Class say their catchphrase, and mercifully, this is over. That lasted forever. It was so bad. It led to nothing. I think Joe Hendry and AJ Francis are going into business for themselves and promoting matches with who they want to wrestle from WWE that are never going to happen. Even if, and Dave Meltzer put it in his Observer that TNA was likely to get dates on AJ Styles. The word likely is very strong. I think it's possible, but I don't think it's likely. Okay. And even if he does, I don't think that the match is going to be AJ Styles versus AJ Francis. Like, why would AJ come back to wrestle Francis? I just don't. Like, that's not the match to make, right? Not saying that the match wouldn't get over. I think it would. But, there's way better wrestlers. Like, AJ Styles versus Moose would make more sense, or versus Eddie Edwards, right? Not Joe Hendry. Because in that, be the world championship match. But man, the match that you should have made was Josh Alexander, but you guys fucking lost him, right? Or Speedball. That would have been great too. If you just want to have a really great match with AJ Styles returning, that would have been the match. But now it's like you guys, TNA replaced those guys with workers that just can't go. So who's AJ going to wrestle, right? Then we get back. Lei Ying Lee defeated Rosemary. Fucking Mackenzie Mitchell, man. They just announced her signing. Oh, by the way, guys, if SI has a big announcement about TNA, lowered expectations is your friend, right? So John Alba says, I got a story dropping tomorrow about a new TNA signing. Of course, TNA fans go wild. They're thinking it's every free agent available. And it turns out it was just the ring announcer that's been there for a month. Just finally signed her deal because she was on a tryout deal, like a trial deal. Well, she finally signed, and then she announces Lei Ying Lee as being from Qingchong, China, which is right out of, and I think a friend of mine said, which is right out of those 80s comedies, like a John Hughes movie, 16 Candles with Long Duck Dong. That when people are being racist towards Chinese people, they say they're Qingchong. That's what they do. She's from Chongqing, China, not Qingchong, China. Qingchong, China would be a fictitious place that a racist person would make up in their head. Not saying that Mackenzie Mitchell is racist. She just fucked it up. So I don't think it was intentional, but she just messed the whole thing up. And people are giving her a lot of hell for it. And look, you got to own that one. That's a screw up. You can't get past that one. Total accident, but you can't get past it. You just got to own it and move on. Match wasn't good. From that, Rosemary tries to fight back from underneath, looking for her finisher. Ying Lee stops it, however, and counters with her own Thunderstruck finisher for the win. After the match, Ying Lee was leaving. Rosemary caught up with her and spit mist in her eyes. Yeah, this was not good. No chemistry. I don't know. I just didn't care for the match. I did not care for the match. Josh in the chat, I'll get to you in a minute. And backstage, we see Sami Callihan telling his cameraman to turn the camera on, and he welcomes us to a special edition of Deathmatch TV. He mentions being on the hunt for Mance Warner. He catches up with them backstage, and they begin brawling. He grabs the camera and hits Warner with it. The feed cuts out, and the show has to do another commercial. Backstage, a medic is tending to Lei Ying Lee's eye issues following the mist from Rosemary when Tessa Blanchard walks up and says she needs the doctor to ignore her and help her instead. The doctor makes it clear he's tending to Lee, but Tessa isn't having it. She insists that they ignore the mid-card talent and tend to her instead. This goes on for a minute or so, and yeah. So Tessa being a bully and a pain in the ass backstage. So they're playing off her real-life drama. Not the racism part, but the bullying and the pain in the ass part, which is going to play later. Eric Young's theme hits, and he comes out with the Northern Armory. Talks about how they did last week and said that said what they were going to do and sent Josh Alexander packing. Young says Alexander started the Northern Armory, but he was too weak to hold on to it, so he took it from him. He says Judas and Travis were pawns, boys under him. Under Young's leadership, they will become champions and they will stand next to Young at the top of the TNA. And as he continues, the fan decided to give him a never-ending what treatment. He says you can claim to be whatever you want, but Eric Young is the foundation of TNA. He is the lifeblood, the gatekeeper. He is the one. He says there is one man missing, one man who should be standing next to him, and that man is Steve Macklin. Tells Macklin to come out here. Nothing happens. Young says he understands. He says Macklin has a hard time trusting people. He says Macklin trusts him. He looked into his soul, spoke to him, and spoke it back. And it did spoke back. He says they are brothers and family. They're past that. He says Macklin knew about Alexander. He warned him about Alexander. He says maybe he did it for him or maybe he did it for Macklin. This business isn't right or wrong. It's not black or white. It's red. Red blood. Red. His theme hits to end the promo segment. So I didn't think it was a bad segment. I'm just like, what's it leading to? Right. And I think it went a little long. And then the show returns and they're at an AA meeting with Mike Santana sitting in a circle. As somebody that's been in AA meetings for 10 years, that's not how we do it. So, I mean, I guess some people would sit in a circle, but they're typically not like a big circle like that. So Ali takes a seat and goes on to give a big speech about how everyone in the room conquered their addictions. After he wraps up, everyone claps. He leans into Santana's ears and whispers, "Things can change, Mike, but people like you don't." And then he actually was talking about people not giving into pressure situations, and things like that. And then he whispered that. I thought this was really good. I thought it was very well done. Ali is such a schmarmy asshole. And he does a very good job of it. I think they got something with his Ali character. I really do. And then, of course, Mike Santana is fantastic. So this is very clearly leading to a Mike Santana Ali match. And I like the fact that they're keeping Ali on the show, despite the fact that he's not on this set of tapings because he went to Qatar with Nick Nemeth instead. And then we get back. JDC is out, and he's going to take on Leon Slater in a no disqualification match. I thought this was fun. I liked it, and I liked Leon Slater's Swanton 450 off the top rope to the outside through a table. I thought that was great. He pulls JDC in the ring for cover, but Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers from the system yank Slater out and double chokeslam through another table to the floor. They roll him back in the ring, and JDC covers him for the win. The match ends. Moose joins the system gang in the ring, and it looks like a post-match beatdown is about to begin. And then the Hardys theme hits, and out comes the Hardy Boys, and they get inside the ring. And then all of a sudden, Oba Femi's theme hits, and the place goes fucking apeshit. They went apeshit already for the Hardys. This is probably the best segment of the night. They go crazy for the Hardys, and then they really go crazy for Oba Femi. The WWE NXT World Champion joins the Hardys and the Slater in the ring as the system backs off, and the show heads to another commercial break. Show returns. System are complaining to Santino Marella backstage, and Marella announces Moose, Eddie Edwards, and Myers against Femi and the Hard Boys next week. So there we go. Tessa Blanchard then makes her way out in street clothes. She's supposed to be in a match. She mentions her interaction with the doctor earlier and says she has not been cleared to wrestle. The crowd gets on her case. So here's where the controversy happens within TNA. The "she's a racist" chant hit here. Okay. Not only that, they were saying, "We're coming for you, Tessa. We're coming for you, Tessa." And then they got the "she's a racist" chant. When the "she's a racist" chant was going on, Tessa had more to say. She got a little flustered, but she handled it well, right? And then Santino Marella, then his music hits, and he comes out early to kind of stop that. And then it stopped in its tracks. At some point, Tessa has to address the racism stuff. Okay. They're playing off her bullying in the past, like the accusations of bullying and stuff, which I think are true. They're playing off of that because maybe she's a changed person. And look, we have not heard any different. So, okay, there. But nobody in that company thinks that she's a racist, at least in management, right? None of her friends thinks that she's a racist, including friends of multiracial people, like groups of people. She had that one moment with La Rosa Negra in Japan. And outside of that one moment, there's not been any evidence of racism. Okay. And that was a long time ago. She has not shown any racist tendencies or racist behaviors in this company. So nobody there thinks she's a racist, right? She's got to get out in front of the story and say, look, I had that bad moment, but that's not who I am. I'm not a racist. Like if she comes out and says something like that, and look, her and La Rosa Negra have already squashed that beef. Like they're cool now. They work together and wow, right? There was no issues. She's got to get out in front of that. If not, this is going to continue to happen. Okay. And it is what it is. Like you got to own it. Like you got to own it. And TNA, they're doing a really bad thing with this Tessa. And what I mean is they're putting her out in the media in all these different markets, and they're telling people to interview her, and they can't talk about the allegations, right? And they're dangling other TNA wrestlers in front of them. It's like, if you interview Tessa and you don't talk about the issues, you can interview Joe Hendry. You can interview XYZ also. But if you refuse to interview Tessa, we're not going to let you interview anybody. So that's what they're doing. They're playing this game with the media. And a lot of people, 2 people I know specifically, have said, fuck you. Like, I'm not going to be dictated to what questions I can and can't ask Tessa. So if I can't ask her hard questions, I'm not going to interview her at all. And I don't want to interview anybody else because TNA is not in the power position. They're trying to be. And maybe they are with some people, but not with these people that I know that are like real guys, right? I'm not going to mention their names because I don't need like crazies coming after them, but that's fucking way out of line for them to do that. You can't do that. And the guy doing it, I'm not going to say his name either, that's trying to, dictate to these journalists on the questions they can ask is out of line too. And that's unprofessional. All right. Tessa needs to address this shit. The longer this goes on, the worse it's going to get. This is not one of those things that's just going to go away. Because now what we have fans in the audience getting themselves over in 2 different cities, San Antonio and Orlando. They're getting themselves over, and it's getting buzz on social media, and now it's going to spiral from there. And now it's going to start happening in all these other cities too, because fans, more than anything, love to get themselves over, right? Which is what this is. They're not protesting. If they were protesting, they wouldn't be there, right? So they're not going to spend money to go and protest, but they will spend money to get themselves over. And so they got to get out in front of it. And as of right now, being silent on the issue is not working. I mean, we'll revisit this when they get to El Paso, see if this happens, but I don't know. So anyway, Santino comes out and tells Tessa he didn't think that she could be a bigger weasel, but then proved him wrong. He says if Tessa doesn't wrestle next week for any reason, she is fired. She does end up wrestling. So she will be in action next week. So, all right. So Masha Slamovich then comes out, and because in the ring is Mila Moore, Tessa's opponent. So out comes TNA Masha Slamovich, who offers to step up and take Tessa's fight. She heads to the ring and the bell sounds. So we're clearly heading towards Masha and Tessa, and then probably at Rebellion, and then Tessa versus Laying Lee at Sacrifice is what it looks like. She walks into a big kick from Moore, but quickly brushes it off and hits her finisher, the snowplow, for the win. She stares down Tessa on stage, and on the entrance stage afterwards, Cora Jade then sneak attacks Masha from behind. Tessa is shown laughing while watching, and the show heads into another commercial break. You can't be having your TNA Knockouts champion if Tessa's going to beat Masha. Every time she comes out, they're chanting she's a racist, right? You just can't have it. You got to get out in front of it. Quit being cowards. Get out in front of it, losers. All right. And then when the show returns, Santino Marella and Ariana Grace are backstage. They announce Cora Jade versus Masha Slamovich for the TNA Knockouts Championship at Sacrifice. They also announce Spitfire versus Ash by Heather Elegance, whatever it's called, for the Knockouts Tag Team Championship next week with a special concierge stipulation. This fucking segment sucked so bad. This Elegance stuff is terrible, and Spitfire have no personalities. They can't talk. The whole thing sucked. I don't know what they're doing with this division. They're the only 2 tag teams in the division. And that's what they always do. They only ever have 2 teams at a time. And now they got this concierge stipulation. So this tells me this is going to go on so much longer. Brutal, man. So brutal. So bad. Acting was completely terrible. Dana Brooke ought to be put in prison for her acting during this segment. It was some of the worst I've ever seen. But they redeemed themselves here. Well, actually, hold on. We're about to go to the main event, and then Ryan Nemeth's theme hits, and he says, "My brother." I thought he was going to get this over, but he's saying it at the wrong times, and now it's done. It's jumped the shark. He doesn't know how to cut a promo. Like, there's a reason why this guy never made it. But he said his brother will be returning at TNA Sacrifice. Okay. And here we go. We got the main event time. We got Elijah and Joe Hendry defeating the Colognes. I thought the match was pretty good, actually. Very basic, right? Like 3-star boy, but like a good TV main event. Very basic, leading to a hot tag, which I was surprised that Elijah got the hot tag on it. I thought Joe Hendry would get the hot tag, but look, they're introducing Elijah to the audience, and they're treating him like he's a big main event star. I don't know if I agree with it, but we'll see how it plays out. We'll see if this guy can improve. But Hendry is controlling the action until the Colognes stop him dead in his tracks and take over. Eddie tags in and settles into a comfortable offensive lead, controlling Hendry on the mat as fans try and rally behind him inside Full Sail University. Hendry starts hulking up and no-selling the offense from Cologne before fighting back and taking over. He tags in Elijah, gets the hot tag, hits the ring with a ton of energy, and the crowd comes to life. He hits a big spine buster, and fans sing, "Oh, walk with Elijah." And Elijah hits the tombstone pile driver for the win. And the two celebrate as Hannafin takes the show off the air. So there you go. That was the first ever live TNA Impact from Full Sail University. Mixed bag of a show. There's some good on it, and I thought the main event was actually pretty good. And we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's get to the chat, and then I'm going to get to some spoilers here. I'm not going to read all the spoilers, but I'm going to just talk about some that I think I'm going to talk about some that I think are important. But Josh says, I was shitting myself that one of the clones is going to challenge Hendry for a minute. Yeah, I thought so too. I was like, oh man, so embarrassing. And he says, I can't wait for Francis versus Styles at Slammiversary. Yeah, I don't think that's happening. But it seems like that's the match that Francis is trying to get made. And if that's what he's trying to do, I don't think he was successful at that with that awful promo segment he did. It was so bad. It was so bad. Slater and Ali will be the top two talents this year. And then I says, at least Tessa didn't say Ching Chong China. Yeah, man, that was brutal. Lucky Charm says, Leon Slater versus AJ Styles. I think that'd be cool. And then Josh says, just into the division. Doesn't seem like they want to save it because they're doing nothing to try. It's been dead since they created it. I feel like they think that if they get rid of it, then they're being disrespectful to women and they're not giving women opportunities. And if that's what you're trying to do, you're just trying to be equal. And not, you don't have enough talent. You just don't. So you're just creating a division to make people feel better about themselves. Like, those belts mean nothing. They're never featured. And when they are, it's always on the pre-show. And you never have more than two teams. And the matches are never any good. It's like, fucking kill it. Merciful. Oh, merciful God, kill the division. Please. All right. Now, before we get off the air. Actually, you know what? Here, let me hit the theme. All right, guys on YouTube. Thank you very much for being here. For those of you watching on YouTube, watching this clip, whenever I decide to get the clip out, head over to patreon.com/the Mike and JD show. I am going to head into some spoilers. So for those of you on Patreon listening right now, I'm going to hit the Brace for Impact theme, and then I'm going to go into some spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you guys can bow out now. All right. Thank you guys for being here. And until next time, mahalo.